Chapter 1. The Hidden War Inside Your Day. Every single morning, before the world sees you, before your phone lights up, before anyone asks for your time, a quiet battle begins. It is a battle you have been fighting your entire life, whether you realized it or not. The battle is not against your job, your responsibilities, or the people around you. It is against the invisible enemy that steals more dreams than failure ever could: uncontrolled time. You wake up with 24 brand new hours in your hands. Fresh, untouched. Equal to the hours given to every genius, every millionaire, every inventor, every leader. And yet, by the end of the day, most people look back and wonder where the time went. The hours vanished, spent on distractions that promised relief but delivered emptiness. Notifications, scrolling, interruptions, overthinking, procrastination, they quietly drain your life 1 minute at a time. Here is the truth few ever confront. You are not tired because you do too much. You are exhausted because you do too much of what doesn't matter. Time is not just passing, it is being taken. Stolen in tiny, harmless-looking pieces. No alarm goes off when a dream dies from neglect. No warning appears when potential quietly expires. It simply fades day after day behind, "I'll do it tomorrow." To master your 24 hours like a genius, you must first understand this simple reality. Time is not something you have. It is something you use, or lose. Most people live in reaction mode. Their day is not designed, it is responded to. They wake up to messages, demands, noise, pressure. Their priorities are decided by whoever speaks the loudest. By the time night comes, they are drained, not from purposeful creation, but from endless reaction. A genius does the opposite. A genius does not ask, "What does today demand from me?" A genius asks, "What must I claim from today?" The difference is subtle, and everything changes because of it. Understand this deeply: your life is not built in decades. It is built in ordinary days that you either command or surrender. There is no such thing as a neutral day. Every single one is either moving you closer to the life you want, or quietly pulling you further away. Most people believe they need more time. They don't. What they lack is command over the time they already have. You don't need a miracle. You need control. And control begins with awareness. Right now, your time is being fragmented. Split into pieces too small to create anything meaningful. Your focus rarely stays in one place long enough to produce momentum. You start things you don't finish. You plan but don't execute. You feel busy yet unfulfilled, active but not progressing. Busyness is not productivity. Motion is not progress. And effort without direction is just exhaustion. A genius treats time like a precision instrument, not a sponge. Every block of the day has intention behind it. Every action is chosen, not stumbled into. They don't rush blindly, they move deliberately. But here's what most people misunderstand. Mastering your 24 hours is not about becoming rigid, robotic, or obsessed with schedules. It is about something far deeper: authority over your own attention. Because wherever your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is scattered, your life becomes scattered. If your attention is controlled, your life becomes powerful. The tragedy of modern life is not a lack of opportunity, it is a surplus of distraction. Every app, every alert, every piece of content is fighting for one thing: your focus. And whoever controls your focus controls your future. You were not born to live in fragments. You were not designed to spend your life reacting. You were built to direct. But direction requires a painful decision. You must choose what truly matters, and willingly ignore everything else. This is where most people fail. They want fulfillment without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, progress without saying no. A genius understands that every yes is also a quiet no to something else. Time mastery begins the moment you stop trying to do everything, and start choosing what is worthy of your hours. Here is a truth that will unsettle you the first time you fully accept it. Your current life is a perfect reflection of how you have been using your time. Not your intentions. Not your plans. Not your dreams. Your actions. If you don't like the results you see, the solution is not to wait for motivation. The solution is to reprogram how your day actually flows. Geniuses don't rely on motivation. They rely on structure. They do not wake up asking how they feel. They wake up knowing what must be done. Their discipline is not heroic, it is habitual. Their power comes from small, repeated decisions executed with cold consistency. And here is the most liberating realization of all. You do not need to overhaul your entire life in one day. Mastery is not built from massive leaps. It is built from tiny, ruthless improvements in how you spend your hours. Change how your mornings behave, your life begins to shift. Change how you handle your energy dips, your results multiply. Change how you protect your focus, and your future accelerates. Your 24 hours are the most democratic resource on earth. Everyone receives the same daily deposit. The difference between an average life and an extraordinary one is not intelligence, luck, or background. It is how that deposit is invested. Some invest in growth. Some invest in distraction. Some waste it entirely. Time never judges. It simply records the truth. And now, for the first time, you are being invited to take full ownership of your 24 hours. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Starting now. You will learn how to stop leaking time through unconscious habits. You will learn how to align your energy with your highest priorities. You will learn how to structure your day so that progress becomes inevitable. You will learn how to operate with clarity instead of chaos. But it all begins with one decision, the decision to stop drifting. Today you stop being a passenger in your own day. Today you step into the driver's seat. Because the moment you master your 24 hours, you begin to master your entire life. And this is only the beginning. Chapter 2, The Illusion of Not Enough Time. If there is one sentence that quietly destroys more potential than failure ever could, it is this one. I just don't have enough time. It sounds harmless, logical, even responsible. But beneath that sentence lives one of the most dangerous illusions of modern life. Because the truth is not that you lack time, the truth is that your time is being misdirected. You were given 24 hours today. Not a second less than the most productive genius who ever lived. The difference is not in the quantity of time. The difference is in the quality of its use. When people say they don't have time, what they often mean is, I didn't protect my time. I didn't prioritize. I let the world decide my schedule for me. Most days are not stolen in one big dramatic moment. They are lost through hundreds of tiny leaks. 5 minutes here. 10 minutes there. A quick scroll that becomes an hour. A small interruption that breaks focus for half the morning. By nightfall the day feels full, but strangely empty. This is the quiet theft of time. You do not lose your life in years. You lose it in minutes you never notice slipping away. The illusion of not enough time survives because distraction feels productive. You answer messages. You move from task to task. You attend to urgent demands. Your brain stays busy, but busy is not the same as building. Urgent is loud. Important is quiet. And most people spend their lives responding to what is loud while neglecting what is life-changing. Time mastery begins the moment you understand this painful truth. Most of your days are not overfilled, they are underdirected. Your hours are being consumed not by what matters most, but by what shouts the loudest at your attention. A genius sees time differently. Instead of asking, where did my time go? They ask, where did I intentionally place my time? This subtle shift creates radical power. Because time does not disappear. It always goes somewhere. The only question is whether it went toward your future, or toward escape. Here is what makes the illusion so convincing. Distraction feels like rest. It feels like relief from mental pressure. It promises quick comfort. But it does not restore you, it dulls you. It does not refuel your energy, it scatters it. After hours of distraction you feel tired but not fulfilled. Drained but not proud. Busy but behind. That is the signature of stolen time. Real rest restores clarity. Distraction only delays responsibility. And yet most people are exhausted not from building their future, but from running from it. Another layer of the illusion is task inflation. When there is no clear hierarchy in your day, every small task feels equally important. You confuse movement with meaning. You fill your schedule with activities just to feel useful. But usefulness without direction is a trap. You answer emails for hours but never take the step that would actually change your life. You attend meetings but avoid deep work. You stay occupied but unfulfilled. The genius does the opposite. They compress the trivial and expand the meaningful. They protect long blocks of time for what truly matters: thinking, creating, building, learning. And they ruthlessly shrink everything else. This is not about working harder. It is about working with intent. The greatest lie you have been sold is that productivity means doing more. True mastery is about doing less of what doesn't matter so you can do more of what does. Time poverty is rarely real. Priority poverty is. If you audit your last 7 days honestly, you will not find a shortage of time. You will find a lack of intentional structure. And that is not a judgment. It is an opportunity. Because structure is learnable. Focus is trainable. Control is buildable. You are not broken. Your day is simply unmanaged. Another hidden enemy of time mastery is emotional avoidance. We often waste time not because we are lazy but because we are uncomfortable. The hardest actions in our lives, starting the project, confronting the fear, committing to the long road, carry emotional weight. Distraction becomes the emotional escape hatch. You avoid the discomfort now and pay for it later with regret. A genius understands that discomfort is a signal, not a stop sign. Where resistance lives, growth waits. And so they move toward discomfort rather than away from it. Not with force, with structure. They design their day so that the hardest, most meaningful work happens when their energy is highest, not after they are already drained by chaos. They place deep work before noise, creation before consumption, purpose before pleasure. And because of this, they never have to ask, "Where did my time go?" They know exactly where it went. It was invested. Investment is the correct word here. Every hour you spend is either an expense that disappears, or an investment that compounds. Scrolling is an expense. Avoidance is an expense. Mindless busyness is an expense. Learning is an investment. Building is an investment. Focused effort is an investment. Geniuses do not waste time because they see time as capital. And capital is never spent without intention. Right now, you are either spending your hours like spare change, or allocating them like a strategic investor. There is no middle ground. Once you see this, the illusion of not enough time begins to collapse. You realize you have been standing in a river of hours the entire time, you just never learned how to direct the current. And here is the most empowering realization of this chapter. You do not need a different life to master your time. You only need a different lens. The same job, the same responsibilities, the same environment. But now you see your hours not as something that happens to you, but as something that flows through you under your command. From this point forward, every "I don't have time" must be challenged with one question. What did I choose instead? Because choice lives at the center of all time mastery. And once you accept that your day is built from choices, not fate, everything becomes negotiable. Everything becomes redesignable. You are no longer a victim of the clock. You become its architect. Chapter 3. The Silent Thieves of Your Day. There is a brutal truth about time that most people never confront. You are not losing your hours to big dramatic events. You are losing them to small, invisible thieves that show up quietly, steal a few minutes at a time, and vanish without making a sound. No alarm goes off. No warning flashes. No guilt is triggered in the moment. And yet, by the end of the day, you feel behind, rushed, and strangely empty. These thieves are subtle. They wear the disguise of just a moment, just checking, just a quick break. But over time, they carve massive pieces out of your life. To master your 24 hours like a genius, you must first see what is stealing them. The greatest time thief of the modern world is not laziness. It is fragmentation. Your attention is being broken into pieces so small that nothing meaningful can form. You start a task. A notification pulls you away. You return half-focused. A thought distracts you. Another message arrives. Another interruption. By the time an hour passes, you have done many things, and finished almost nothing. Your brain never enters depth. Your focus never consolidates. Your work never compounds. This constant switching creates a powerful illusion of productivity. You feel active. You feel busy. You feel involved. But beneath the surface, your day is dissolving into noise. Depth creates results. Fragmentation creates fatigue. And fatigue makes you even easier to distract tomorrow. Another silent thief is unconscious routine. You believe you decide how your day unfolds. But in reality, much of your time is spent on automatic behaviors you never chose deliberately. The way you reach for your phone in the morning. The way you open certain apps without thinking. The way you default to certain distractions when discomfort rises. These patterns feel small, harmless, insignificant. But what is repeated becomes permanent. Your life is not built from dramatic decisions. It is built from tiny defaults you never questioned. Unconscious routines run your day while your conscious mind believes it is in control. And the most dangerous part? You grow emotionally attached to these routines. They become comfort. They become identity. They become just how I am. A genius does not fight habits with force. A genius replaces defaults with design. You don't eliminate unconscious behavior through willpower. You eliminate it by making your time visible again. Another silent thief is open loops. Unfinished tasks live in your mind like unpaid debt. They consume mental energy all day long. Every loose end creates a low-level anxiety that fragments focus and drains clarity. Even when you try to rest, your mind remains partially occupied. You think you are relaxing, but your nervous system is still under pressure. Open loops steal time not only while you are awake, they steal it while you sleep by reducing the quality of your rest. A cluttered mind creates a cluttered day. A genius closes loops aggressively. They externalize tasks, organize priorities, and create mental emptiness so focus can flow freely again. Another thief that very few people recognize is emotional leakage. You lose hours not just to distraction but to feeling states you never resolve. Overthinking, regret, anger, comparison, anxiety, self-doubt. These emotions run in the background like hidden programs, consuming energy and slowing execution. You try to work, but part of your mind is replaying the past. You try to focus, but part of your mind is worrying about the future. You try to act, but part of your mind is negotiating with fear. Your body is at your desk. Your attention is everywhere else. Until emotional leakage is addressed, no time management system will ever work fully. You cannot master the clock if your inner world is in chaos. The genius learns emotional regulation not as a wellness luxury, but as a time mastery skill. Because clarity is not just psychological comfort. Clarity is speed. Another thief is false urgency. Everything feels important. Everything feels immediate. Everything demands attention now. But urgency is often manufactured, not real. Most messages can wait. Most requests are negotiable. Most pressures are socially constructed. Yet because you fear missing out, disappointing others, or falling behind, you allow false urgency to reshape your day again and again. You end up living someone else's priorities while your own slowly starve. A genius respects urgency, but does not worship it. They separate emergency from noise, signal from static, meaning from movement. They respond intentionally, not reflexively. Perhaps the most emotionally dangerous thief of all is comparison. You lose time replaying other people's lives in your mind. You measure yourself against timelines you don't understand. You scroll past victories that distort your perception of progress. And quietly your energy drains. Comparison doesn't just steal time. It steals confidence. And without confidence, execution slows. You hesitate. You doubt. You delay. And each delay costs you more time. A genius studies others for strategy, never for self-worth. They measure themselves against yesterday, not against illusions. Once you become aware of these thieves, something powerful happens. Your time stops feeling random. You begin to recognize patterns. You begin to see leaks. You begin to understand your own behavior with new clarity. And awareness is the beginning of authority. You don't need to fix everything at once. You only need to stop pretending you don't see it. From today forward, start observing. Where does my attention drift without permission? Which distractions feel automatic? Which emotions slow my execution? Which urgencies are real, and which are noise? This observation alone will begin to slow the theft. Because thieves survive in darkness. And you have just turned on the light. Chapter 4, Building Your Time Fortress. Once you see the thieves, you cannot unsee them. The distractions, the fragmentation, the emotional leaks, the false urgency, the unconscious routines. Awareness is the moment the theft begins to slow. But awareness alone is not enough. If you do not build protection around your hours, the thieves will return, quieter, smarter, more subtle than before. This is where structure becomes your greatest ally. You don't master time by fighting distraction all day. You master time by designing a life where distraction has less power. A genius does not rely on self-control. A genius relies on environment and systems. Willpower is finite. Design is persistent. Your time fortress is not a rigid schedule carved in stone. It is an intentional structure that directs your energy automatically, even when your motivation is low. To build it, you must first understand this truth. Resistance always comes before power. The strongest resistance of your day is not in the evening, it is in the beginning. The moment you wake up, your brain is most vulnerable to hijack. The world rushes in immediately if you let it. Messages, noise, urgency, comparison, they all compete for your first attention. Whoever wins your first hour often controls the rest of your day. A genius protects the opening of the day the way a general protects headquarters. Not with chaos, with calm, with intention, with silence, with focus. Your first hour should belong to your future, not your inbox. This does not require a perfect morning routine. It requires one powerful rule. No consumption before creation. Do not open the world before you build yourself. Creation can be writing, thinking, planning, studying, training, preparing. Something that moves your life forward before the world starts pulling it sideways. This single change can reclaim years of lost progress. The next wall of your fortress is time blocking. Most people place tasks randomly into the day. A genius groups similar demands into focused blocks. Deep work is separated from shallow work. Thinking is separated from reacting. Movement is separated from stillness. This protects cognitive energy. When you jump between radically different tasks all day, your brain burns fuel just trying to reorient. You feel tired not because the work is heavy, but because the switching cost is brutal. Block your time by demand, not by habit. Deep work deserves deep protection. Admin deserves compression. Communication deserves boundaries. Rest deserves structure. Your time grows when it is shaped. Another critical wall of your time fortress is entry friction. You must make it harder for distractions to enter your life and easier for focus to stay. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your environment. If your phone is always within reach, it will always win. If your workspace is cluttered, your mind will be too. If interruptions have free access to you, they will take full advantage. Remove the ladders that let thieves climb in. Distance your distractions. Silence what doesn't serve your goals. Create physical separation between rest and work. Design visual cues that pull you back into focus. And do this without guilt. You are not being selfish. You are being strategic. Another essential layer of the fortress is predecision. Most time is not lost because of bad choices. It is lost because of too many choices. Every decision drains energy. Every choice opens a negotiation. A genius decides in advance. What time you wake up. When you train. When you do deep work. When you stop. When you rest. When you consume. When you disconnect. You remove daily friction by deciding once instead of 1,000 times. Predecision is invisible discipline. When the moment arrives, you don't debate, you execute. This alone can double the power of your day. But no fortress stands without rules of engagement. Your time is not automatically respected just because you value it. Most people will take as much of your attention as you allow. Not out of malice, but out of human nature. You must teach the world how to treat your time. This requires boundaries. Not aggression. Not excuses. Boundaries. It is okay to be unreachable sometimes. It is okay to delay responses. It is okay to protect silence. It is okay to prioritize your future over someone else's convenience. You don't owe everyone immediate access. You owe yourself your life. Another often ignored wall of the fortress is energy alignment. Time mastery without energy mastery collapses. You are not the same person at every hour of the day. There are peaks. There are valleys. There are transitions. Your most demanding work must live at your energy peak. Your administrative work must fall into your lower zones. Your recovery must be non-negotiable. You cannot will yourself to perform at high level in a low energy state indefinitely. Biology always wins. A genius works with their physiology, not against it. And finally, the foundation of the fortress, the ground on which it stands, is identity. You will not protect your time until you believe your time is valuable. Your actions always follow what you believe you deserve. When you see your hours as disposable, you give them away easily. When you see your hours as sacred, you defend them naturally. This is not arrogance. This is self-respect expressed through behavior. You are not building a fortress against the world. You are building one against drift. Drift is the real enemy. Drift is what turns years into regrets without any single dramatic failure. Drift is what makes life feel busy but unfulfilled. Drift is what happens when no one is consciously steering the ship. Your time fortress makes drift impossible. It gives your day edges, structure, direction, weight. And once your day has weight, your life begins to move. Chapter 5. Commanding your energy, not just your time. You can schedule every hour of your day perfectly and still feel behind if your energy is drained. Time alone does not create results. Energy gives time its power. Without energy, even the most disciplined schedule becomes a slow grind. With energy, ordinary hours turn into extraordinary momentum. Most people wake up and think in terms of tasks. A genius wakes up and thinks in terms of energy states. Because your ability to execute, focus, solve problems, and create is not evenly distributed across the day. It rises and falls in waves. If you place the wrong work in the wrong energy state, you will feel like life is fighting you. If you align your work with your energy, life begins to flow. The mistake most people make is this. They treat all hours as equal. They are not. Your brain has high output windows and low output windows. Your body has peak performance zones and recovery zones. Fighting these natural rhythms leads to burnout, procrastination, and frustration. Working with them multiplies results with less effort. The first step to energy command is observation. For a few days, pay attention to when you feel naturally sharp, when you feel slow, when your creativity spikes, when your discipline drops, when your body feels strongest, when your mind feels foggy. You are not broken when energy dips. You are human. A genius does not shame low energy phases, they design for them. High energy windows are for creation, deep focus, learning, complex problem solving, strategic thinking. Low energy windows are for routine admin, communication, maintenance, recovery, light movement. When you align this way, effort feels lighter. You stop fighting your own biology. Your productivity increases without increasing stress. Another truth most people ignore. Energy is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and environmental. Mental energy is destroyed by overthinking. Emotional energy is destroyed by unresolved stress. Environmental energy is destroyed by clutter and chaos. You can sleep 8 hours and still wake up mentally exhausted because your mind never rested. You must protect your energy on all 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, environmental. Neglect one and the others weaken. One of the greatest drains of human energy is decision fatigue. Every small choice costs energy. What to wear, what to eat, when to start, what to prioritize, what to answer, what to ignore. By midday, many people are depleted not from work, but from endless micro-decisions. This is why geniuses simplify their lives on purpose. They wear similar clothes. They eat similar meals. They automate minor choices. They follow simple rules. They design defaults. When choices disappear, energy reappears. Another enormous energy leak is emotional residue. That argument you haven't resolved. That regret you replay. That fear you suppress. That comparison you indulge. These emotions don't stay where they started. They follow you into your work, into your relationships, into your focus. They quietly tax your nervous system all day long. You feel tired, but you don't know why. Energy mastery requires emotional hygiene. Not perfection. Not denial. processing, releasing, returning to center. A genius clears their inner world as deliberately as they clear their workspace. Then there is the matter of input. What you consume becomes your internal fuel. If you start your day with panic-driven news, your nervous system enters survival mode. If you flood your brain with shallow content, your attention becomes shallow. If you immerse yourself in negativity, your energy collapses. Your focus does not just drift, it is fed. A genius curates their inputs with care. They choose what enters their mind. They are disciplined about what they allow to shape their nervous system. Because you cannot think powerfully on poisoned mental fuel. Another powerful truth. You do not lose energy from hard work. You lose energy from misaligned work. When your actions contradict your values, your energy bleeds. When your time is spent on what you hate, your vitality collapses. When your effort is disconnected from meaning, your body resists. Fatigue is often not physical. It is existential. Energy returns when your work feels connected to a larger purpose. This is why time mastery without direction will never satisfy you. You need more than efficiency. You need meaning. And finally, the most misunderstood element of energy, recovery. Rest is not laziness. It is maintenance. You are not a machine. You are a system that requires cycles of exertion and restoration. If you never stop, you break. If you never slow down, you burn out. If you never recover, you regress. A genius does not glorify burnout. They redesign before collapse. They treat sleep as strategy, movement as medicine, silence as fuel, joy as restoration. Recovery is not something you earn after exhaustion. It is something you schedule to prevent it. When you command your energy, time stops feeling heavy. The same hours suddenly hold more life, more output, more clarity, more momentum. You begin to move through your day with strength instead of struggle. Chapter 6. Focus, the force multiplier of genius. There is a silent power that separates those who merely stay busy from those who create extraordinary results. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not even discipline in its raw form. It is focus, the ability to place your full attention on one meaningful task and keep it there long enough for real progress to occur. Focus is what turns ordinary effort into accelerated growth. Without it, even the longest day collapses into scattered fragments. With it, a single hour can outperform an unfocused week. Most people believe they struggle with time. In reality, they struggle with attention. Their mind is everywhere at once. Their energy is divided. Their thoughts are interrupted. Their momentum never fully forms. They attempt big goals with broken concentration, and then wonder why everything feels slow, heavy, and exhausting. Focus is not about working longer. Focus is about removing everything that does not belong in the moment. The modern world is engineered to fracture your attention. Notifications, messages, feeds, noise, demands, they all exist for one purpose: to pull your mind out of depth and into reaction. The more you react, the less you create. The less you create, the more you consume. And the more you consume, the easier you are to control. A genius does not float through this noise unconsciously. They build focus as a trained skill. Because focus is trainable. It is not a personality trait. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens under resistance. At first, the inability to focus feels like weakness. Your mind jumps. Your body resists stillness. Your attention seeks novelty. This is not failure, it is withdrawal. You are detoxing from constant stimulation. The discomfort means the training is working. Most people quit here. A genius pushes through. They understand that the first enemy of focus is discomfort. Stillness feels strange when your mind is used to chaos. Depth feels heavy when your brain craves novelty. Silence feels loud when you are addicted to noise. But beyond that discomfort is an entirely different operating state. One where hours compress, execution sharpens, and clarity multiplies. This is the state in which real work is done. This is where mastery is born. The second enemy of focus is overstimulation. When your brain is constantly flooded with rapid input, it loses the ability to stay with a single thought. You don't lose focus because you are lazy, you lose it because your nervous system has been trained to crave rapid switching. Your mind has learned that novelty equals safety and boredom equals threat. This is not a moral failure. It is a conditioning problem. And conditioning can be reversed. A genius begins by lowering the volume of stimulation in their life. Fewer inputs, fewer interruptions, fewer artificial urgencies. They create pockets of silence not as punishment, but as training grounds for depth. Another enemy of focus is unclear intention. You cannot focus deeply on vague objectives. Your brain needs precision. Work on my goals creates mental fog. Write 500 words. Study one chapter. Outline 3 ideas. These create mental traction. Clarity sharpens focus. Vagueness dissolves it. Before entering any focus session, a genius defines what exactly will be done. What does finished look like? What will be ignored for the next block of time? Once this is set, they do not renegotiate internally. They stay with the task until the block is complete. This is not rigidity, it is respect for momentum. The third enemy of focus is internal noise, unresolved thoughts, pending decisions, emotional residue, fear of starting, fear of imperfection. Your body may be seated at your desk, but your mind is replaying conversations, imagining outcomes, worrying about what hasn't happened yet. You appear present, but you are not fully here. True focus requires a quiet inner room. This is why writing things down is so powerful. When your thoughts are externalized, your mind stops clutching them. When your fears are named, they lose their fog. When your plans are defined, your brain relaxes. Focus is not only about excluding the outer world. It is about settling the inner one. Another truth few accept. You do not rise to focus. You enter it. Focus is not sparked instantly. It has a ramp. The first 5 minutes feel heavy. The next 10 feel slow. Then something shifts. Resistance dissolves. Depth opens. This is why quitting early is so destructive. You abandon the session right before it begins to work. The mind interprets this as evidence that focus is impossible, when in truth it was just unfinished. A genius understands the curve and stays long enough to reach the other side. They do not judge the first resistance. They move through it. And once they enter depth, time begins to behave differently. Minutes stretch. Distractions fade. Thoughts sharpen. Output accelerates. This is not mystical. It is neurological. Your brain enters a high-efficiency state where learning, creation, and problem-solving compound rapidly. This is why 2 people can work the same number of hours and achieve radically different results. One works in fragmented attention. The other works in focused depth. Same time. Different realities. Another key principle of focus mastery is single tasking. Multitasking feels impressive. It is actually destructive. You are not doing many things at once. You are switching rapidly between tasks, paying a cognitive tax each time. Every switch breaks momentum. Every break weakens quality. Every return requires re-entry energy. Single tasking protects depth. Depth protects quality. Quality compresses time. Do one thing. Do it fully. Then move on. This simplicity is what gives focus its power. Finally, focus must be protected with ritual. Ritual tells the brain, it's time. A specific workspace. A specific time block. A specific playlist. A specific posture. A specific opening action. Over time, these cues condition your nervous system to enter focus faster and with less resistance. You stop forcing yourself into depth. You slide into it automatically. Ritual removes friction. Repetition creates reflex. Reflex creates mastery. You were never meant to live in constant distraction. You were meant to build, create, and think deeply. Focus is not a luxury of the elite. It is the doorway that makes elite performance possible. And once you learn to hold your attention steady on what truly matters, your 24 hours begin to expand from the inside. Chapter 7: The Science of Momentum and the Power of Small Wins. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they act. They believe that one day they will suddenly feel ready, energized, and confident enough to pursue their goals with consistency. But mastery does not begin with motivation. It begins with movement. Momentum is the invisible force that turns effort into speed. Without it, every task feels heavy. With it, progress feels natural. And the secret of momentum is not intensity, it is continuity. The human brain is wired to build upon what it has already started. Once motion exists, further motion requires less energy. This is why starting feels hard but continuing feels easier. This is why small actions repeated daily eventually feel unstoppable. The greatest myth in personal growth is that massive transformation requires massive effort all at once. It doesn't. It requires small wins stacked relentlessly. A small win is any action, no matter how minor, that confirms one truth to your nervous system. I am moving forward. And once that truth is confirmed enough times, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. That is the birthplace of momentum. Momentum is not emotional fire. It is emotional evidence. It grows when your actions prove to your mind that progress is happening. Every checkbox completed. Every routine followed. Every focus session finished. Each one may seem insignificant individually, but together they form a psychological current that carries you forward automatically. This is why people who chase massive breakthroughs often burn out, while those who respect small wins quietly surpass them. Your nervous system prefers safety and familiarity over ambition. Big leaps feel threatening. Small consistent steps feel secure. When you design progress in ways your brain can tolerate daily, resistance drops. Execution rises. A genius does not overwhelm themselves with the scale of the final outcome. They obsess over the next manageable action. Momentum also feeds on visibility. If progress is invisible, the brain assumes it isn't happening. This is why tracking matters. Not for control, but for reinforcement. When you can see progress, even in tiny increments, your motivation no longer has to be imagined. It becomes earned. What you track tends to grow. What you ignore tends to fade. But momentum is not just psychological. It is physiological. Your body adapts to patterns. When you repeat an action at the same time consistently, neural pathways strengthen. The brain begins to automate the behavior. What once required effort now happens with less resistance. This is how habits form. This is how routines become identity. At first, discipline carries you. Eventually, identity carries discipline. And when identity takes over, momentum becomes self-sustaining. Another powerful truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Goals create direction. Systems create velocity. A goal motivates in theory. A system moves you in practice. Momentum lives inside systems. It is not a burst. It is a current. It is built when you lower the activation energy of your habits. Make the first step easy. Make the environment supportive. Make the routine repeatable. Make progress automatic. If the starting line feels heavy, you will not cross it often. But if the starting line feels light, you will step over it almost unconsciously. Momentum also depends on how you treat missed days. Missing once is neutral. Missing twice is the start of a new pattern. The danger is not the fall. The danger is the delay in returning. When you resume immediately after a miss, momentum barely weakens. When you delay return, identity begins to fracture. A genius returns quickly, without drama, without shame, without delay. They don't negotiate with the miss. They simply continue. Because momentum is less about perfection and more about speed of recovery. Another key element of momentum is emotional safety. If every mistake triggers self-attack, your nervous system begins to associate progress with pain. You subconsciously slow down to avoid punishment. But when mistakes are treated as feedback instead of failure, your system feels safe to keep moving. You do not accelerate in an environment of fear. You accelerate in an environment of learning. This is why self-respect is foundational to long-term execution. Momentum also compounds through identity reinforcement. Every day that you follow your routine, you are not just completing tasks, you are casting votes for the person you are becoming. These votes accumulate. The more they accumulate, the harder it becomes to act out of character. You begin to protect your habits naturally. You begin to feel uncomfortable when you don't act in alignment. You don't force consistency, you defend it. At that stage, momentum becomes emotional gravity. You are pulled forward not by effort, but by who you now believe yourself to be. And here is the final truth of this chapter. Momentum is always available. It is never lost forever. It is only paused by inaction. One small step today can restart a powerful current that carries you for years. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when conditions are perfect. Today. Chapter 8. Mastering your environment. Where time is won or lost. You believe your willpower controls your day. In reality, your environment controls your willpower. Your room, your phone, your notifications, your desk, your soundscape, your people. These silently decide how your 24 hours unfold. You do not win time through force. You win time through design. Most people try to master their behavior without ever mastering the space that shapes it. They fight distractions instead of removing them. They fight laziness instead of redesigning friction. They rely on motivation instead of engineering inevitability. A genius does none of this. A genius builds an environment where focus is the default and distraction becomes inconvenient. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It associates locations with behaviors. The bed means sleep. The couch means scrolling. The desk means work. These associations are not opinions, they are neurological shortcuts. When you enter a space, your brain activates the identity attached to that space automatically. This is why willpower collapses so easily in poorly designed environments. You're not weak. You're outnumbered by triggers. If your phone is within arm's reach, your attention will leak. If your workspace is cluttered, your thinking will fragment. If your surroundings are noisy, your concentration will fracture. If your environment is chaotic, your time will become chaotic. You do not rise above your environment. You function within it. Mastery begins when you stop asking, "How can I try harder?" and start asking, "How can I make the right action easier than the wrong one?" This is the core law of environmental control. What is easiest to do will be done most often. If distraction is easier than focus, you will drift. If junk information is easier than deep work, you will skim. If comfort is easier than effort, you will delay. So the solution is not discipline alone, it is strategic friction. Reduce friction for what you want to do. Increase friction for what you want to avoid. If you want to read more, place the book where your phone used to be. If you want to think better, clear your desk. If you want to sleep earlier, remove screens from the bedroom. If you want to create, remove everything that competes with creation. This is not about perfection. It is about alignment. When your environment and your intention point in the same direction, action becomes effortless. The greatest thieves of time are not activities, they are interruptions. An interruption does not only steal the moment. It steals the momentum before the moment and the recovery after it. When your focus breaks, your brain must reload context. That reload costs energy. You feel this as mental fatigue. The more fragmented your day becomes, the more exhausted you feel, even if you did little real work. This is why controlled environments produce exponential output. Silence is not empty. Silence is processing power. Order is not rigid. Order is mental freedom. Stillness is not inactivity. Stillness is precision. A genius understands that time is not just hours. Time is quality of attention per hour. 8 distracted hours are weaker than 2 fully focused ones. Your environment dictates how rich each hour becomes. Notice something subtle. People who master time rarely talk about time. They talk about systems, surroundings, and structure. Because they understand that time responds to structure the way water responds to containers. Without structure, it leaks. With structure, it concentrates. Another hidden truth. Your environment shapes not only what you do, but how you feel while doing it. When your surroundings are clean, your mind feels lighter. When your space is intentional, your energy rises. When your tools are ready, resistance disappears. Fatigue is often environmental, not physical. You feel drained not because you worked too long, but because your mind kept switching contexts, navigating clutter, resisting temptation, and processing noise. This cognitive tax is invisible but devastating over time. Your job is not to push harder within a toxic environment. Your job is to make the environment work for you, not against you. The highest performing people don't battle temptation all day. They arrange their lives so temptation rarely shows up. They don't rely on motivation to focus. They remove what causes distraction. They don't chase productivity. They remove what kills it. And this is the final principle of environmental mastery. You do not need more willpower. You need fewer battles. Every battle costs time. Every avoided battle saves it. When your environment is aligned with your goals, time stops being something you chase and becomes something that flows toward you. Chapter 9, The Art of Boundaries, Defending Your Time Like It's Your Life. Time is not only lost through distraction. Time is also stolen through access. Access to your attention. Access to your energy. Access to your emotional space. Access to your availability. Most people think their biggest time problem is laziness. It isn't. Their biggest problem is that everyone else has full access to their life. Messages arrive without warning. Requests appear without permission. Obligations multiply without negotiation. Urgencies invade without mercy. And slowly, silently, the hours disappear. You don't need better scheduling until you learn better boundaries. Because boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that protect what matters most. Without boundaries, your priorities don't stand a chance. Every yes you give that isn't aligned with your goals becomes a quiet no to your future. And most people are exhausted not from doing too much, but from doing too much of what doesn't matter to them. The world will always ask for more of you. More time. More availability. More emotional labor. More convenience. More sacrifice. But the world does not feel the cost, you do. A genius understands this early. Time is currency. Access is expensive. And not everything deserves admission. Boundaries begin with a painful realization most people avoid. You cannot save everyone and still save yourself. You cannot be endlessly available and still be unstoppable. You cannot protect your future while constantly reacting to the present. Reaction is the enemy of mastery. Every interruption turns you into a servant of external demands. Every unplanned conversation hijacks momentum. Every quick request fragments your focus. And what makes this dangerous is not one interruption. It's hundreds of small ones across days, months, years. Death by 1,000 cuts. Mastery of 24 hours requires courage. The courage to disappoint. The courage to decline. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to be temporarily disliked. Because boundaries cost social comfort in the short term, but buy you personal freedom in the long term. You must decide. Do you want to be liked by everyone or respected by your future self? You cannot have both in their full form. The most successful people are not rude. They are selective. They are gentle but firm. Polite but immovable. Kind but unavailable when necessary. They understand that boundaries are not about control. They are about conservation. Conservation of energy. Conservation of focus. Conservation of time. Your nervous system is not designed for constant access. Your mind is not built for constant response. Your soul is not wired for non-stop demand. Yet modern culture treats unlimited access as normal. Instant replies. Constant updates. Perpetual availability. And when you step back, people call it distance, coldness, arrogance. In reality, it is self-respect. A genius trains the world how to treat their time. Not through speeches. Through patterns. If you reply instantly to everything, everyone learns you are always available. If you cancel your priorities for others repeatedly, everyone learns your goals are negotiable. If you tolerate interruption, people learn they can interrupt. Boundaries are taught, not declared. You teach them through what you tolerate. You reinforce them through what you protect. You strengthen them through consistency. And the most powerful boundary is not spoken. It is scheduled. When you block time for deep work, you are making a promise to your future self. When you silence your phone, you are drawing a line in the sand. When you decline without explanation, you are signaling self-trust. You do not owe everyone your reasons. You only owe yourself your life. Another hidden truth. Poor boundaries don't just steal time, they drain identity. When your day is shaped by everyone else's demands, you stop feeling like the author of your life. You become a responder, not a creator. A reactor, not a builder. And slowly motivation erodes. Not because you are lazy, but because your days no longer feel like they belong to you. Ownership of time is ownership of self. Without it, discipline collapses. Without it, focus disintegrates. Without it, even meaningful goals feel distant and heavy. But when you reclaim boundaries, something extraordinary happens. Your mind settles. Your energy stabilizes. Your confidence strengthens. Your direction sharpens. Because clarity is born from protected space. You cannot hear your deepest thoughts in a room full of demands. You cannot shape your destiny while constantly reacting to others. A genius does not live in emergency mode. A genius lives in intention. This does not mean isolation. It means discrimination. You choose what enters your life. You choose when you are available. You choose what has the right to interrupt your momentum. Not every message requires a reply. Not every request deserves an agreement. Not every opportunity aligns with your direction. Boundaries are how you convert time into progress instead of noise. And here is the quiet power most people never discover. The more you respect your time, the more others begin to respect it too. People sense boundaries like gravity. They feel the firmness. They adjust their behavior. They approach with intention instead of entitlement. But this only happens when your boundaries are real, not performative. You must be willing to lose access to some people to gain access to your future. That is the trade. That is the cost. That is the power. Chapter 10: Focused Execution. Turning hours into exponential results. Time alone does not create results. Effort alone does not create results. Even talent alone does not create results. Results are born when time, energy, and focus move in the same direction without fragmentation. Most people work. Very few people execute. Work is activity. Execution is impact. You can stay busy all day and still move nowhere. You can exhaust yourself with effort and remain stuck. You can spend years trying and still never build momentum. Why? Because scattered effort multiplies nothing. Focused execution multiplies everything. A genius does not do more. A genius does less with total concentration. This is the hidden difference between people who stay average and those who compound forward at terrifying speed. They don't live in divided attention. They live in single target intensity. Every time you split your attention, you dilute your power. Every time you switch tasks, you lose cognitive charge. Every time you multitask, you trade depth for illusion. Your brain was never designed for parallel execution. It was designed for sequential dominance. One target. One window. One direction. One mission. This is why shallow productivity feels exhausting and unrewarding. And deep execution feels energizing and addictive. When your mind is fully engaged in one meaningful task, it enters a different state. Time bends. Resistance fades. Clarity rises. Output accelerates. This is not hustle. This is alignment. Execution begins where planning ends. And most people never leave the planning stage mentally. They read. They research. They organize. They prepare. They adjust endlessly. But when it's time to act, they hesitate. Because execution exposes identity. Execution risks failure. Execution removes the comfort of imagination. In preparation, you are always about to be great. In execution, you discover who you actually are. This is why the majority stall here. But those who master time know a brutal truth. Momentum is built only through imperfect action taken consistently under focused conditions. You don't need perfect conditions. You need concentrated conditions. You don't need more confidence. You need more completion. Completion rewires the brain faster than motivation ever could. The mind learns through evidence. Every finished task strengthens the belief that you are capable. Every executed block rewrites self-image. Every delivered effort compounds identity. You stop becoming someone who tries. You become someone who finishes. Execution has a rhythm, a tempo, a sacred flow. Once broken, it takes time to restore. This is why interruptions are so dangerous, not because they steal minutes but because they destroy continuity. Continuity is where compounding lives. A genius protects flow more fiercely than comfort. They choose solitude over noise, progress over gossip, depth over distraction. They understand that focus is not just attention. Focus is devotion to the present task. When you execute with full presence, even a small action becomes powerful. When you execute in distraction, even great effort becomes diluted. This is why two people can have the same 24 hours and create drastically different lives. One sprinkles effort across 100 shallow motions. The other drives force into a single direction. Velocity is not created by speed. Velocity is created by alignment of force. And this is where leverage is born. Leverage is what allows hours to produce outcomes far larger than the effort used. It is what makes 1 hour today produce 10 hours of value tomorrow. It is what turns discipline into destiny. You gain leverage by focusing on actions that multiply rather than actions that merely maintain. Busy tasks maintain life. Focused tasks transform life. A genius always asks, does this action compound or merely consume? If it compounds, it deserves deep focus. If it consumes, it deserves limits. Execution without leverage is exhaustion. Execution with leverage is expansion. This is how small daily actions quietly become massive over time. Execution is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not emotional. It is calm. It is repetitive. It is relentless. It wins not because it is intense for one day, but because it is unstoppable across many. A genius is not someone who bursts forward. A genius is someone who keeps moving when others slow down. And here is the hidden spiritual dimension of execution. Every time you execute instead of delay, you teach your nervous system to trust you. You collapse internal resistance. You reduce internal negotiation. You stop fighting yourself. Most stress is not caused by work. It is caused by unfinished intentions weighing on the mind. Every unkept promise to yourself becomes mental noise. Every delayed action becomes self-doubt. Every avoided task becomes future anxiety. Execution clears the mind because it closes open loops. Finishing is therapy. Completion is liberation. Focused execution turns chaos into clarity. And slowly, steadily, without noise or applause, something changes inside you. You stop needing motivation because you have momentum. You stop waiting for permission because you have proof. You stop fearing failure because you have motion. You are no longer trying to control time. You are commanding it,